everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we've got an exciting action-packed episode. We'll be starting off by looking at overlooked differential players. Then we will be covering the current FPL template team. Last but not least, we will be covering the main feature for today, which is the Plan 1 versus Plan 2. How to navigate Game Week 1 to Game Week 5, our master plan. Before we kick off, please remember to hit that like button, and if you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button. Also feel free to join our FPL mini league. The code is included in the description below as well as on screen above. If you are looking for an AI FPL tool that can optimize your FPL team score, then look no further. DraftHound has got an incredible FPL tool where you can obtain expected points, suggested transfers, player comparisons, optimum players, and lots more. If you are interested in this, then feel free to check out the link included in the description below. Next, we've got overlooked differential picks. We've got Diego Jota, who at 8 million represents quite good value for money. One of Jurgen Klopp's favorite pressing players. He seems to be overlooked mainly because last season he hardly featured as he was often injured. However, you can expect him to play much more minutes barring any injury this season, and he definitely will be getting involved in goals and assists. Bernardo Silva represents another player that represents excellent value at only 6.5 million. With the departure of Gundogan as well as Riyad Mahrez, Bernardo Silva should be seeing much more minutes this season. He's one of the unsung heroes of the Manchester City team over the past few seasons. Then we've got Callum Wilson at £8 million, has some tough fixtures at least on paper, and is therefore being overlooked. However, Callum Wilson is the talisman of the Newcastle attack, and no matter who he plays against, he often manages to squeeze in a goal. He is the player that you can count on when you need it the most. Then we have got Heung-min Son at 9 million. That's an absolute bargain. A few seasons ago you won the Golden Boot, and many people seem to have forgotten that the main reason for him not featuring so well in FPL as well as scoring as many goals last season was that he carried an injury. He has now gone for surgery and he looks to be renewed, and with the new coach coming on board, you can expect him to actually find that renewed fire to get back to his old form. Then we have got Jared Bowen at 7 million, an absolute steal. With West Ham playing Bournemouth first, there could be a goal fest in that if that West Ham team is on fire. And then we've got an absolute gem of a differential. Who would have thought that he would be on this list? Harry Kane at 12.5 million represents excellent value. Were it not for Erling Haaland last season, then he would have taken the Golden Boot. He has got some decent fixtures to start off with. He's always involved. He's the general within that Tottenham Hotspur team who are expected to attack this season. So he's definitely one of those players that if you bring him in, you will tick along. What do you think about these differential picks? Any of them in your Game Week 1 team? And if you've got any other differential picks, then let us know down in the comments below who you would recommend and why you would recommend them. We are on the planfpl.com website, and currently this is how the template team is being structured. This is a team without adherence to the £100 million budget. So if you look at the goalkeepers, no surprises there, Areola and Onana. Looking at the defenders, Estupinian, Trippier, a bit of a surprise there, not really featuring much in Twitter and YouTube content creators teams, mainly because of the tough early fixtures. Shaw, not really a surprise there. Stones has also featured quite regularly recently, and then Alexander-Arnold, there is still a split whether people are including Liverpool assets or not, but if you are looking for a premium defender, then Alexander-Arnold is definitely one of the top defenders in that bracket and priced at the highest price point for the defenders for a reason. Looking at midfielders, we've got Saka, we've got Rashford. Those are going to be very prominently featuring in FPL managers teams, along with Matoma at the 6.5 million price point, who will be very popular, along with Mbeumo, who doesn't feature here, but he shouldn't be far behind. Bruno Fernandes at 8.5 million, great value. And then the debatable pick is whether do you go with Mo Salah or do you go with no Salah. But of the premiums, besides Haaland, if you are putting a premium in, then Mo Salah will more likely than not feature. And that's mainly because of his game week 2 fixture against Bournemouth, which last year Liverpool scored 9 goals. And not saying that they will be scoring 9 goals again this season, but it is a team that you can expect them to win convincingly, especially given that they are playing at home. Then up front, no surprises, Haaland. And then we've got Gabriel Jesus and Nkunku, who up until this week, before they played in their friendly matches, featured very promptly. However, both of them seem to have picked up injuries in their respective friendly matches. Jesus has definitely been ruled out for the first few matches of the season. Nkunku is still a doubt, but the chances are probably slim that he will feature in the first game week match against Liverpool. That is the team without any budget constraints. And looking at the team within the £100 million budget, the goalkeepers are the same, the defenders are basically the same. You're looking at the midfielders, it's the same. Baptiste basically replaces Mo Salah. And then you've got Archer and Mbeumo that are replacing the two forwards that mentioned earlier, Jesus and Nkunku, that have been injured. So if you look at this, you will notice that there is 2 4.5 million forwards and only 1 4.5 million mid, which means that more managers are favouring loading up on midfielders compared to strikers this year. And that's not really a surprise, so that's where the value lies. If you're looking at the ownership changes in the last 24 hours at the time of recording, those that are increasing is Watkins, that you can expect after the injuries to the Nkunku and Jesus. You've got Jackson, you've got Darwin, you've got Onana, you've got Nketiah, who's also captained the team in a friendly match, so he could possibly also feature. And those that are going down, you've got Val, you've got Shaw surprisingly, Alexander-Arnold, Nkunku not a surprise, and Jesus not a surprise. Okay, so now we'll be looking at 2 game week 1 teams. Firstly, what we'll be looking at is a team that will be containing a strong midfield. In goal, we've got Jordan Pickford, we've got Gabriel, we've got Shaw, we've got Estupiñán. Then we've got in midfield Saka, Rashford, Martinelli, Bruno Fernandes, Erling Haaland, and then the debatable pick, Cody Gakpo, that could potentially be Darwin or could potentially be Jackson as well. And then we've got Watkins, who hasn't got the best game week 1 fixture, but he's one of those players that ticks along, and he's got some very good fixtures after game week 1, so you could potentially get some benefit at a later stage. On the bench, Areola, probably the most likeliest 4.0 keeper that could possibly play if he does actually nail that number 1 spot for West Ham. Then Anderson, who's been prolific in pre-season, it's still debatable whether he'll feature much or he'll kind of come off the bench. And then there's Baldock, who possibly could be starting for Sheffield United, and then Bayer, who is also a likely 4.0 defender that could be starting. Then moving to game week 2, if you roll the transfer, so by having the Gakpo pick as a Liverpool player against Bournemouth, you could roll forward the transfer The captaincy armband in this game week is going to be interesting. Most managers that will be having Mo Salah in their team for this game week will definitely be captaining Mo Salah, or predominantly most managers will. Some might shift to Haaland, but you would expect that's the reason why these managers brought Mo Salah in the first place, in order so that they can cover the Bournemouth fixture. The alternative option would have been in terms of starting off with Jackson from Chelsea. However, that would mean that you would potentially not be having a Liverpool player for this game week, or you would need to move from Jackson to Gakpo. However, because Chelsea have favourable fixtures in game week 3, you'd then need to do the hokey cokey back to Jackson again, which is kind of waste of 2 transfers between game week 1 and game week 3. So the preference is to stick with the Liverpool asset, as then you've got the player for game week 2, and then move thereafter to game week 3 with the relevant Chelsea asset, which could be Jackson or could be Nkunku. Okay, so then looking at game week 3, the transfer here is Cody Gakpo to Jackson. As you can see, Jackson plays Luton at home, so that's quite a favourable fixture. Watkins plays Burnley away. Could be a tough fixture, but Aston Villa under Unai Emery looked pretty solid recently. Looking at Pickford, he's got a decent fixture. Gabriel, Shaw, Estupiñán, all home fixtures, everyone except Watkins and Haaland. The captaincy armband here could potentially, you could even go for Rashford. He could be a popular captaincy as he's playing at home. Haaland, last season his away record was not very good, but then again, very good for Haaland. He's still at a reasonable level that you could expect him to score a goal anytime. You are talking about Haaland, who often does not appear to be human. Then moving to game week 4, the transfers here are shifting the forward that we had. We had Watkins and we had Anderson, and you will note that you could move to someone like Alvarez and Mbeumo. So the reason for this is, if you look at who you're benching, and this is probably one of the toughest decisions to actually make. It could possibly backfire, but you're playing the upside here. You're benching Bruno Fernandes and you're benching Luke Shaw against Arsenal, and the reason for that is you're backing the Arsenal assets to win because they are playing at home. You've got Mbeumo, who's playing Bournemouth at home, so you are backing Mbeumo to actually score and do well there, and he's on penalties as well. And then you've got Jackson, who plays Nottingham Forest home. You are assuming he starts and plays and doesn't get injured, then you are backing him to score. So overall, Mbeumo and Jackson, you are looking at the odds doing better than Bruno Fernandes and Shaw or Watkins as we had previously. Then Alvarez, this is a bit of a surprise pick. This we will still need to assess whether you move to Alvarez or whether you possibly consider an alternative option. It could be anybody else as well in that price bracket. But if you're looking at all the players barring Rashford and Pickford, you've got all home games again, which is another critical factor. With this season being a little bit more closer to a normal season with no disruptions, hopefully. Last year there was the Queen's funeral disruption, there was COVID before that, there was the World Cup last year as well. So the fixtures tend to be much more congested when they have to be rescheduled. This season there shouldn't hopefully be any major reschedulements, so therefore the home fixtures are going to be even more tougher for the away teams to win. Moving to game week 5, looking at the transfer we've got here is Rashford to Son. That was actually quite a tricky decision. However, assuming Son appears to be close to his form that we know he could be in, he's got a prime fixture against Sheffield United at home, and we would even go as far as putting the armband on him. So that could be quite an interesting choice. They're at the same price point, assuming that we are still able to move for Son at that price point. Then that would be quite a nice differential. Haaland has got an away fixture, and the advantage of bringing in Alvarez earlier is that we've got cover in terms of Mabumo, who could come on if Alvarez does not play. And if you're looking at the fixtures here, Pickford's got a tough one against Arsenal, but it's at home, so you probably get some save points. Gabriel against Everton, you'd expect a possible clean sheet there. Sure, if not a clean sheet, you would expect some attacking returns against Brighton. Estupinian is always very attacking. Martinelli against Everton, you definitely could expect some goal involvements. For Saka as well. Bruno Fernandes, he's always involved. Jackson plays Bournemouth away, that's quite a great fixture. And then Alvarez against West Ham, you could see him even coming off the bench and potentially scoring. So that's in terms of plan 1, which includes a Liverpool asset in terms of a forward up front. So if we move to our other plan, which is plan 2, and this plan involves bringing in Mo Salah. And initially we were very adverse to bringing in Mo Salah into our teams. However, with the injuries up front to Nkunku and Jesus, it's really made us rethink. And we can see an opportunity here potentially that the Mo Salah draft is actually a bit more enticing than it has been so far during pre-season. And the one reason for that is if Eddie Nketiah from Arsenal is able to cement his place up front, and there is a decent chance that he could, in terms of the fact that he's been awarded the captaincy earlier in a pre-season friendly match. It also shows that there is faith being put in him. He himself, along with Balogun, are the only two out-and-out strikers in the Arsenal team now currently. So there is quite a good chance that he could actually be entrusted with that striker spot. He's unlikely to play the full 90 for most of the matches, as there is a good chance that Arteta will probably rotate him. Which means that someone like Martinelli or Trossard could then fill that gap up front. But Nketiah is an out-and-out striker, and with Jesus last season when he was injured, he fulfilled that role relatively well. He wasn't that consistent as you'd hope, but at times he definitely looked the part. So the Salah-Nketiah combination could be quite a differential. And Salah, if I'm not mistaken, has actually got quite a good record against Chelsea. So his game week 1 record is also quite good in terms of scoring over the last few seasons. So if Salah scores in game week 1, then he's got an easy fixture in game week 2. If he does well for you, you could be set up for a great start to the FPL season. By bringing in Salah means that you would need to sacrifice some of your price points, which means that you'd need to probably go for 2 6.5 million mids, and two of the top mids to go for that have got reasonable fixtures are Matoma and Mbeumo. Other than that, the team is basically the same as plan number 1 that we had earlier, with the only difference being on the bench you still have the luxury of bringing in Chilwell. The alternative option is that you could potentially upgrade Pickford to someone like Onana, but then you've got Shaw and Onana, not really sure that you'd want to double up on defense. Otherwise you might possibly need to transfer out Shaw and replace him with someone like Stones, just to make sure that you've got a bit of a diverse defense to spread your risk a bit. And then that would mean that you would be taking off 0.5 of Chilwell, so you need to probably go for another 5 million defender, and you could go for one of the other Manchester City defenders, someone such as Akanji. That should also not be a bad pick. The only thing is it limits you then in terms of moving to Chilwell, and the only way to move to Chilwell is in possibly doing Stones to Chilwell from game week 3, which is also not a bad time because Chelsea fixtures are easing up after that. Okay, moving to game week 2. So game week 2, we save the transfer, so that's the advantage of having Salah up front. We will most likely be captaining Mo Salah against Bournemouth, but I wouldn't be surprised if Erling Haaland is still the most captained player, as he's got a home game and not everybody will be having Mo Salah in their team, so the most likely default captain will be Erling Haaland, especially at the start of the season, unless Mo Salah is really on a massive scoring spree in game week 1 and then he sees massive transfers ahead of game week 2. So looking at the rest of the team, Matoma, he plays against Wolves, which is a decent fixture even though it's away, as well as Mabumo plays Fulham, who's lost quite a bit of his striking power, with Willian that's left, as well as Mitrovic, who looks like he's also leaving, or at least he's not been in good terms with the club and looking for a move. And then if we look at the bench, we are benching Chilwell. Debatable whether we would play Shaw or Chilwell. At this stage we're possibly favouring Shaw, but yeah, it's a 50-50 and we could possibly switch that as well. Then moving to game week 3, the transfers that we do. So this is when Chelsea's fixtures switch, so now we need to free up the funds. We move Nketiah to Jackson and we move Salah to Rashford because we're needing some funds, and that's the cash cow. So this is how the team lines up. We've got Saka and Bruno Fernandes, who along with Rashford is playing against NFO, Nottingham Forest. We've got Matoma against West Ham. We've got Jackson against Luton. And we've got Sheffield United for Haaland, and we're captaining him. Chilwell is playing against Luton, so we're definitely starting him along with Gabriel and Shaw and Estupinian. Pickford's also got quite a decent fixture against Wolves. Game week 3 is definitely looking like a very high scoring game week just by looking at the matchups. And then we've got Mabumo, who will actually be first on the bench, not third. He's also got quite a decent fixture. You could possibly even consider starting Mabumo ahead of Matoma. That could also be quite a viable fixture, but that's probably another 50-50 decision that you could make closer to the time. So that's quite a luxury to have. So as you can see, it's quite good to have a solid bench. At least one player gives you some opportunities. Then moving to game week 4, the transfer here is Matoma to Foden. The reason for this is the Brighton fixtures start to become a bit more tougher. So if you're looking at Estupinian, he's facing Newcastle. So Matoma would have also faced Newcastle, and Foden plays against Fulham, assuming that he is nailed in the team with some of the attacking Man City players departing to other clubs. There is a good chance that Foden's minutes could increase this season. And then Jackson plays Nottingham Forest, Haaland plays Fulham, and then we've got Rashford, a tough fixture against Arsenal, Bruno Fernandes also a tough fixture against Arsenal. In this particular case we are benching Shaw, playing Mabumo. So you would expect, based on the odds, that Arsenal have got better clean sheet odds, so therefore you would actually most likely be choosing them. But you could also say that Shaw's got better attacking threat. You would probably expect both teams to score. Yeah, that's also not entirely confirmed benching. You could swap that as well, and then you are assuming Areola keeps his spot as number 1 for West Ham. Then also a tough call, but as Pickford is playing against Sheffield United, Areola is playing Luton, but you possibly might give Areola a chance, unless Pickford's been in great form, and depends on the opposition as well. Game week 5, the transfer here is Rashford to Son. They're at the same price point, so here you would actually most likely be captaining Son, and they've got some good fixtures after this as well. So you've got one Manchester United attacker, so you're spreading your attacking midfielders across teams. That also gives you a better opportunity of getting more bonus points, especially if you are looking at talisman and players that are likely to play a majority of the minutes. So in this particular case, we are benching Estupinian and starting Chilwell, Gabriel and Shaw, who have got the better of the fixtures. The goalkeeper, Pickford, tough fixture against Arsenal, so you're hoping more for clean sheets. That's it for these two plans, Plan 1 and Plan 2. This is how you can navigate through game week 1, 2, 3 and 4 without incurring any hits and having quite a solid, powerful team for most of these 5 game weeks. Let us know down in the comments, what do you think about these two plans, Plan 1 and Plan 2? No Salah or Mo Salah? What is your preference? Please comment down below. That's it for this game week video. We hope you found it quite useful. All the best for your game week 1 tinkering, and until we chat again next time, cheerio.